And so I saw them down at Pizza Hut, and I looked over at Ernie, and he was holding little Paul in his arms and smacking him in the face. Smack, smack. He was smacking him hard. Everybody in the Pizza Hut was horrified because there was little Paul, and he wasn't crying about it. He was laughing. He was laughing because he loved getting slapped in the face. But stop! There is one thing you'll never know about my Uncle Nathan. You'll never know just how sweet he was. You'll never know how alive he was. Then I looked at pictures of my uncles like Uncle G. My Uncle G was always trying to kill himself, but something always went wrong. One time, he was working in a factory up north and living on Lake Erie. He bought a boat and a shotgun and some shells and decided to go out on the boat on a Saturday morning and end his life. He said goodbye to all of his friends, and he told his wife it was the end. He had enough guts now. He wanted people to know this time he was truly going to make it happen. So, he cleaned the shotgun and went out in his boat. He shined the boat up the day before. He cranked the motor and went out into the middle of the lake. He sat and looked out over the shining water and thought about his life. He knew this was the end. He clicked off the safety, put the barrel in his mouth, and pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. He was still alive. He cracked open the shotgun and he saw it wasn't loaded. When he cleaned it earlier, he took out the shells. He left the shells on the bed. Shit! He took his boat back home, and he knew things were different now. He never tried to take his life again. There were stories about little boys getting ear infections and Ruby not having enough money to take them to the doctors. So, they just twisted and turned and flipped and flopped in their sick beds, crying for days until their eardrums popped, poof, and they eventually went deaf. What did you say? My dad was working at Kroger when he was 19 years old. And one day, in a store meeting, the manager was saying the names of these guys who broke into the store and stole a bunch of shit. He said the name of one of the robbers, Stanley McClanahan. Then he asked my dad, not thinking, "Do you know him, Mac?" My dad said, "Yep, he's my brother." So the room grew quiet, and the manager later apologized to him. There was my Uncle Grover who suffered from depression and schizophrenia. And instead of taking him to the doctor, they brought in a faith healer and had someone hold him down and tried exorcising his demons. This was the way it was done. Demons. There was a picture of Elgie's family I found, all 11 of them lined up in a row, and so I asked my grandma, "Well, who's that and who's this?" She said, "That's so-and-so, and she killed herself." Then I said, "Well, who's this and who's that?" Ruby said, "Oh, that's so-and-so. She killed herself." And out of the 11 children, 5 of them committed suicide. And so I asked, "Well, what happened to Elgie's father?" She said, "Oh, one day he was rocking a baby in his lap, and then he put the baby down and went out behind the Johnny house." Then she whispered so Nathan couldn't hear. "And then he shot himself." I flipped through the picture book and I saw it all. Some of them stayed and had children, and some of them went to other places. Some went north to places like Flint, Michigan and Cleveland, Ohio, and worked in factories. And some worked for General Motors in Flint, Michigan, and some worked in steel mills in Cleveland, Ohio.